Very good morning to everyone. So today I'll be doing the news analysis of 7th of October. The newspaper I've shared with you on your screens. So the very first page of this of the very first page of the Hindu is talking about Nobel Peace Prize 2023 uh, goes to jail, and she is an Iranian activist, that is Narges Mohammadi. So what you need to know over here is that who is the Nobel Peace Prize winner. Um, and fine. So she is Empress. She won the Nobel Peace Prize on Friday in recognition of her tireless campaigning for women's rights and democracy and against death penalty. So the cause she was working for was women rights. Just hold on for a second. It has hanged. Okay, so women's right, democracy, and death penalty. Now, the news says that she has remained a leading light for nationwide women-led protests sparked by death last year of 2022, 22 years old women in police custody. So she has been talking openly about nationwide protests. Okay, fine. Now, what has she said? I also hope this recognition makes Iranian protesting for change stronger and more organized. So, what she was doing was that she was fighting for the cause in order to garner global support and recognition of human rights. And what was the reason? The reason was that this shall enable them to be more responsible and more responsive about their rights. Fine. Now it says that Miss Mohammadi is the 19th woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize and the second Iranian woman after human rights activist Shirin Ebadi to won the award in 2003. That means she's the 19th woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize and the second Iranian woman. Before that, the first Iranian woman to win this prize was Shirin Ebadi. And second one is your Narges Mohammad. Fine. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, so here is the news. This is on your screens. aligning higher education with United Nations SDGs. Now, the United Nations SDGs are a set of 17 goals with 169 targets. That means you should know that there are 17 goals. That is your SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So, 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And these goals are having 169 targets. And to which 193 UN member states have agreed to try to achieve by 2030. Now, SDGs are a matter of urgency and actions by all countries, both developed and developing. And what are the goals they are targeting? First is to end poverty and other socio-economic and environmental problems that should align the strategies that improve the standard of life, education, reduce inequality, harness economic growth. That means they are saying that these SDGs are for all the countries, irrespective of the fact whether the country is developed or developing. And the role of these SDGs is first to end poverty. Second is that to improve the standard of life. Third is education. Fourth is reduce inequality. And fifth is to harness economic growth. Now, though it has been 8 years since the inception of these goals, the SDG reports 2023 flagged slow progress and painted a grim picture due to prolonged effects of COVID-19, impacts of climate crisis, Russia-Ukraine conflict, and a weak global economy. So, the author is of the opinion that those SDGs have been there, but the point is that they were not able to they were not able to have a good effect over it for a very simple reason. Why? Because the conditions got worsened due to COVID-19 impacts. There was a huge climate crisis, there was a Russia-Ukraine conflict, and there was a weak global economy, because of which the progress was not as it was thought to be. Fine. The lack of progress towards the goals is a universal experience, but it has been more pronounced in the least developed countries. India, despite having managed the crisis of global economy and relatively succeeded in the overcoming challenges posed by pandemic, has suffered a huge setback in achieve these goals. So this is what I said, that firstly, the weak global economy, and that is what they are also saying, that there was a crisis in global arena, and India too was under pandemic. So India too was witnessing pandemic. So all this has put a setback in achieving these goals. Now, what is NEP 2020 and SDGs? Recent actions and policies indicate that India is committed towards realizing SDGs, that is your Sustainable Development Goals. And SDG 4 pertains to access to quality education. It is a prerequisite for the achievement of other goals. India, with long-standing history of equitable and inclusive education, has accelerated efforts to ensure what? The achievement of SDGs through various reforms. Among them, the National Education Policy 2020 should be given credit to great extent. Why? Why they are targeting that NEP, that is the National Education Policy, should be given a lot of credit for. Why? Because this NEP 2020 has been prepared in tune with most of the SDGs. That means your national education policy is tuned or drafted keeping in mind what? Your SDGs. That means it's a big thing coming on your way, that your sustainable development goals have been kept in mind while they were framing what? Your national education policy. Now, though NEP 2020 calls for changes at all levels of education, priority should be accorded to higher education as it accelerates social mobility. It empowers people through creativity, critical thinking, and grants them what? Employment skills. So, what you can say over here is that your NEP 2020, the kind of education or the kind of draft NEP is having, this is targeting what? Your higher education. And if you people have gone through NEPs, that is your national education policy, you must be knowing that it has talked a lot about higher education, the contribution with respect to the funds, as well as the colleges, the kind of scholarship supports, involvement of women candidate, increasing the participation and global enrollment ratio. A lot of things has been targeted in national education policy with respect to your higher education. So one thing is this. Second thing, it says that because of this, this is going to do what? This is going to accelerate social mobility. Now, when this will accelerate social mobility, it will also empower people through creativity. Empower people through creativity. It will also talk about critical thinking. It will also grant what? Employment skills. Now, if I'm saying employment skill, you should keep in mind that the employment skill of today, that means that we are in the world of robotics and industrial revolution 4.0, and we are talking about big data, we are talking about machine learning, etc. So what is needed here? See, we require a lot of workforce which knows coding, know how to operate these robots, etc. So that is what they are saying, that we grant them what? This National Education Policy 2020 is going to grant them employment skills. Now, according to the data from Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, that is OECD, people with higher education degree are more employable and earn an average of 54% more than those who only have completed senior secondary education. Now, according to the data of OECD, they are saying that people who are having higher education, they have more employability. Fine. Other than that, what they're saying is that a university inclusive education does, a person who is having this background of university education has a better way to protect people against poverty, prevent them from hunger, support them for good health, well-being, promotes gender equality. Other than that, it provides them with a workspace which is decent enough, which would even drive the economic growth and reduce inequalities. So if you see, they are saying that a person who has this grant of university level education, so the person who is having this grant of university level education, so this person will be able to meet what? The SDGs that have been there. So your SDGs are clearly defined. Those are 17 SDGs. Now they are able to meet those SDGs. So what are those? See, firstly, it will help in doing what? It will help the people to protect the people against poverty, prevent them from hunger. That means if the person is educated enough, is having higher education, so they can have employability for themselves. So once they're having employability for themselves, what they are going to do for is that they are able to protect themselves from poverty, they are able to protect themselves from hunger, they are going to have a good access to good health and well-being. Then this shall promote gender equality because definitely women will also come forward and work. This shall provide decent work because all those work which doesn't grant you dignity will definitely not be your choice. So you will go for the work which is decent enough, which will drive the economic growth and which also reduces inequality. So all of your SDGs will be covered based on your National Education Policy 2020. Now, universities should strengthen the research teaching nexus in university education. That way, students will become direct benefactors of the knowledge generated from research. Multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary system of education produce multi-talented people who can pursue what? Research, find innovative solutions such as affordable and clean energy, sustainable cities, climate change and global warming, as well as studying their impact on an economy and earth. So what they are saying is that apart from the human well-being, they are also talking about the well-being of your planet. And this shall include your cities, countries, communities, climate, energy, etc. Sustainable development is possible only if we radically change the way we produce and consume. Innovative solutions and startups must be developed in collaboration with private companies. Now, introducing value based education will help citizens become responsible towards self, society, and the planet and help our nation to achieve what? Life on land. Now, this is very important. That means all this is going to help you in achieving what? A good and a healthy society, a good and a healthy planet, and that would lead for a good nation and which will make life on land much better. Now, what are the suggestions and concluding remarks that are coming? So, National Education 2020 demands that Indian higher education be committed to mapping its day-to-day operation with SDGs. Ranking universities according to the achievement of SDGs is a welcome move, but is still inadequate to meet the SDG deadline. To accelerate the progress towards achieving the 2030 agenda, stakeholders of higher education should be educated, oriented, and so that none of their activities leave any SDG behind. Now, universities should come out invigorated and play a part in education, innovation, culture, and civic life of their local communities. See, the author has, if you could analyze, like half of the time, the author is very much focused in building what? A civic life of local communities. And that should be pertaining to what? Community health, energy saving measures, efficient resource allocation, waste reduction, development of local skills, as well as sharing of services, infrastructure, and facilities with respect to other universities or external partners. Now, it is high time that universities adopt sustainability as a mantra and incorporate SDGs into their institutional strategies. Now, both in daily administration and in teaching and research, it has been realized that higher education cannot work in isolation. So, rather, it must be directly integrated with socio-economic development. So, socio-economic development should be there. Other than that, they have said where each activity and transaction has meaningful and multiple impacts on SDGs. So, higher education should be integrated with what? Socio-economic development. Integrated with socio-economic development where each activity and transaction has meaningful and multiple impacts on SDGs. Every citizen must feel that the universities contribute directly to their well-being and nation building. Okay, so if you see, the article has very beautifully connected what? Higher education with SDGs and okay, higher education, SDGs, and your global scenarios. Fine. So this was one of the articles that need to be done. Let's move on to the new one. The new one is coming from see this page number article in your page number 7. The Forbesganj railway station in Bihar, caste exploitation and poverty are the main reasons why many villagers migrate to other regions in India or abroad. Now, this is a very good case study for you, especially for the people of sociology optional. You can get the analysis of this. Why? Because, and here, Indian society section also, I mean, just to have a good understanding of your topic, what you can do is another thing that many Dalits from Arya district have migrated to Punjab and converted to Sikhism. Now, you see, there are two things that they're talking about. One is your migration, one is your conversion. And conversion to what? Religious conversion. Now, if you see, this is a big thing that is coming out. People migrate, and who are these? They are Dalits. So, Dalits migrating and converting themselves to Sikhism. And what is the reason? In the hope that it will accord them respect and free them from caste based exploitation. Now, if you see, what they are saying is that the religious conversion and the migration is happening for what cause? So that they could be saved from caste based exploitation. Saved from caste based exploitation. Now, what is the reporter saying? That caste-based discrimination and poverty drive thousands of people away from state, especially the Kosi area, in search of greener pastures. So there is enough evidence what that in a country where we are talking about making a country which is $5 trillion economy, which is going to be a $5 trillion economy, there's this country which is facing caste based discrimination and poverty, and people are migrating. Okay, migration, then I could understand that this might be because they are getting a good opportunity for there, so that's not a big deal because people do migrate from one place to another, whether it's abroad or within the country. The point is that they are migrating because of caste-based discrimination, and if they are doing so, that requires a quick check on your policies and measures. So, with that angle, this case study becomes important for you, and that would indeed help you to frame a good answer for sociology. Now, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so page number 9 says that Professor Swaminathan's contribution will continue to inspire and guide us. Now, a few days ago, we lost M.S. Swaminathan. Our nation lost a visionary who revolutionized agricultural science, a stalwart whose contribution to India will always be etched in golden letters. Now, the contribution of Professor Swaminathan has been immense in the growth of our country and upliftment of our country. So, what is the article talking about? Professor Swaminathan loved India and wanted our nation and our farmers in particular to lead a life of prosperity. See, you are also aware the kind of agriculture we are having, and we are focusing on industrial sector, we are focusing on service sector, but agriculture sector, though we try to focus a lot, we even try to work towards the upliftment, but somewhere or other the practices still remain insufficient. So what is the cause and what is the reason behind? So M.S. Swaminathan himself was of the opinion that people or those farmers who are working on the farmlands should lead a life of prosperity, and for that he was working for the cause. Now, academically brilliant, he could have chosen any career, but he was so impacted by the Bengal famine of 1943 um, that he was clear that if there is one thing he would do, it would be to study agriculture. So, what was his opinion about it? That he wanted to study agriculture. Why? Because the country was that time suffering from a very dreadful thing, that is Bengal famine, 1943. Now, at a relatively young age, he came in contact with Dr. Norman Borlaug and followed his work in great detail. In 1950s, he was offered a faculty position in US, but he rejected it because he wanted to work in India and for India. Now, I want you to all think about the challenging circumstances in which he stood as a colossus, guiding our nation towards the path of self-sufficiency and self-confidence. Now, in the first 2 decades since independence, we are dealing with immense challenge, and one of them was food shortage. Now, this is not something which is hidden from people. So, India was a country which suffered from humongous food shortage. In the early 1960s, India was grappling with ominous shadows of famine, and it is then that the professor's unyielding commitment and foresight ushered a new era of agricultural prosperity. Now, his pioneering work in agriculture in specific sectors like wheat breeding led to a significant increase in wheat production. That means the production was humongous in wheat, and that made India from food deficient to food sufficient nation. Fine. This tremendous achievement earned him the well-deserved title. And what is that well-deserved title? This is father of the Indian Green Revolution. So if you see, he is also referred as father of Indian Green Revolution. Now, the Green Revolution offered a glimpse of India's can-do spirit, that if we have a billion challenges, we also have billion minds with the flame of innovation to overcome those challenges. Now, 5 decades after Green Revolution began, Indian agriculture has become far more modern and progressive. But the very foundation laid by Professor Swaminathan can never be forgotten. Of course, that you just can't escape the kind of work he has done towards the cause, because if we have increased our wheat production, that talks about the enormous contribution of the person towards a nation which was food deficient and ultimately prospered enough to become a food sufficient nation. Now, over the years, he undertook pioneering research in combating parasites that were affecting the potato crops. Now, his research also enabled potato crops to withstand cold weather. Now, today the world is taking out millets as superfoods, but Professor Swaminathan has always encouraged discourse around millets since 1990s. Now, what was Professor Swaminathan's viewpoint? Now, they began after the uh, Prime Minister was then and that time Minister of Gujarat during those days. So what happened was that during those days, Gujarat was not known for its agricultural powers. Now, successive droughts, super cyclones, earthquakes have impacted the growth trajectory of the state. Now, among the many initiatives we launched was First one was soil health card, which enabled us to understand the soil better. So the first thing, like we went ahead with, one was first was your soil health card. Now this soil health card was to understand the soil better and address the problems if they arise. It was in the context of this scheme that Professor Swaminathan was appreciated. Why? Because he has endorsed enough. He like to convince people for the scheme. Which one? Soil health card. Now, based on this, there was this international agro biodiversity project, which was launching a two-book series. And what was that? One was your Kural. And what is this? The Kural describes the farmers as pin that holds the world together. Yes, because see, what is important? If you are not having the food, how are all the other activities going to build up? So the foundation starts from your farmers. So this is what they're saying, that farmers act as what? The pin, because it was the farmers who sustain everyone. Now, Professor Swaminathan understood this principle very well, and a lot of people call him Rishi Vaigyanik. That means a farm scientist, or you can say an agriculture scientist. Now, but I've always believed that he was even more. So he was a true Kisan Vaigyanik, a farmer scientist. In his heart, there was a farmer. So the Honorable Prime Minister is trying to say that if he was working for this cause, so yes, he was a scientist, a farmer scientist, but in order to work for this cause, he was a scientist, or you can say he was a farmer by heart. So the profession he chose was scientist, but if we talk about the person's personality, it was that he was a farmer by heart. The success of his works is not restricted to their academic excellence. It lies in the impact they have had outside the laboratories, in the farms, and the fields. Now, his work narrowed the gap between scientific knowledge and its practical application. He consistently advocated for sustainable agriculture, emphasizing the delicate balance between human advancement and ecological sustainability. Now, here I must also note what that the professor's special emphasis on improving the lives of small farmers and ensuring they also enjoy the fruits of innovation. He was particularly passionate about improving the lives of women farmers. Now, innovation and mentorship. There's another aspect about the professor, and what is that? He stands tall as a paragon of innovation and mentorship. See, if you just analyze a bit, you'll find it that a country which was deep down in famines, and the country where the agriculture was dilapidated, and since the article is saying that we were food deficient country. So in order to make that country a food sufficient country, and also to have this wheat surplus production, also countering the famines of that time, this speaks volume about the character of the person. That means what kind of work he has performed. So the work that he has performed during that time when the technology innovation was also not there, that means he had been mentoring it quite well. And that's the reason why what's happening is that he has stood as tall as paragon of innovations and mentorship. Now, when he won the World Food Prize in 1987, the first recipient of this prestigious honor, he used the prize money to establish a not-for-profit research foundation. Till date, it undertakes extensive work across various sectors. He has nurtured countless minds, instilling in them a passion for learning and innovation. In a rapidly changing world, his life reminds us of enduring power of knowledge, mentorship, and innovation. Now, he was an institutional builder. Now, the statement is quite big in itself. Why? Because he was considered as an institutional builder, having his having to his credit many centers where vibrant research took place. Now, one of his stints was the director from International Rights Research Institute, Manila. The South Asia Regional Center of International Research Institute was opened in Varanasi. Now, I'll again cite the Kural to pay tributes to Professor Swaminathan. It is written there, if those who have planned have firmness, they will attain what they have desired the way they have desired. Now, here was a stalwart who decided early on his life that he wants to strengthen agriculture and serve farmers. And he did it exceptionally, innovatively, and passionately. Uh, Professor Swaminathan's contribution continue to inspire, guide us as we navigate the path of agricultural innovation and sustainability. Now, we must also keep reaffirming our commitment to the principles he held, that is, championing the cause of farmers, ensuring the fruits of scientific innovation, reach the roots of your agriculture expanse, fostering both sustainability and prosperity for the generations to come. That means our prime minister is talking about what that even though we are moving towards a very technical world, but what we need to keep in mind is that we need to keep on working for the cause of farmers. We need to ensure scientific innovation. We need to foster growth. We need to work towards sustainability. We also need to work towards the prosperity of the generations to come. Fine. So indeed, it was a beautiful article in appreciation with the. Okay, so yeah, the article was for the appreciation of M.S. Swaminathan. Now let's move on to the next analysis. Okay, so you have here this news that social media platforms told to remove the child sexual abuse content. Now, this is relevant from an Indian society section and also social justice section, because you people are aware of the act of what OXO. So you can go through this one also. Now, YouTube, Telegram have been told to proactively filter the child sexual abuse material out on the Indian internet. This is told by the Ministry of Electronics, Information and Technology. So the notice to the platform, the government said, threatened the firms that they would lose intermediary liabilities protection if they did not take any action for this, meaning that the companies would themselves be open to legal actions. The editor at a financial daily said the notices were sent a day after the paper had reached out to the government about such contents that are available on these platforms. Now, in a statement, what has the YouTube spokesperson said? That we have a zero tolerance policy on child sexual abuse material. No form of content that endangers minors is acceptable to us. We have heavily invested in the technology and teams to fight child sexual abuse and exploitation online and take swift action to remove it as quickly as possible. So, what are they saying? that by 2023 we removed over 94,000 channels and over 2.5 million videos for violation of our child safety policies. Now we'll continue to work with experts inside and outside of YouTube to provide minors and families the best protections possible. The other two companies did not immediately have a content comment to offer on. So as for Telegram, the messaging app is end-to-end encrypted for personal chat, but not so for channels. So it is unclear whether Telegram uses any proactive child sexual abuse material detection technologies or not. So here it is that Telegram, whether is operating or is having any kind of such technology that would detect these contents or not. Fine. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. Now, this is important. That is, your 2 out of 5 amphibians are facing extinction threat due to climate change. So, a newspaper analyzing was showing 2 decades of data from around the world was found that climate change is emerging as one of the biggest threat to frogs, salamanders, and caecilians. The study titled Ongoing Declines for the World's Amphibians in the Face of Emerging Threats. Now, the study is based on the second global amphibian assessment. And what are they showing? The assessment evaluated the extinction risk of more than 8,000 amphibian species from all over the world. Now, this included around 2,200 species evaluated for the first time. More than 1,000 experts across the globe, including the scientists and researchers from Assam-based Biodiversity Conservation Organization, ARNAC, and other Indian institutions contributed their data and expertise. So the data revealed the 2 out of every 5 amphibians are threatened with extinction. So these data will be published on IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. Now, from 2004 to 2022, a few critical threats have pushed more than 300 amphibians closer to extinctions. According to this, climate change was the primary threat to 39% of these species. The number is expected to rise as better data and projection on species responses to climate change becomes available. So, what you need to know about this is that the reason behind the habitat destruction, the reason why or what is the primary threat to these species, and you should know the name that means Isotypus garonesis, a species of caecilian. So you should know about this. Okay. Other than that, what else need to be covered? Okay, so you also remember what is the study based on? For example, by the Amphibian Red List Authority, a branch of the Amphibian Specialist Group of International Union for Conservation Nature Specific Survival Commission and managed by Rewild, a wildlife conservation group. So you should know about the 2 of the 5 amphibians who are facing extinctions because this becomes important and relevant for the environment section. Fine. Now let's move on to the next analysis. Okay, so here it is. What Russia might pull back from nuclear test treaty. What is happening is Russian lawmakers will consider what revoking the ratification of global nuclear test ban. So the statement is coming from the lower house of the state of Duma, that is followed by Russian president. warning that Moscow could consider rescinding the ratification of the international pact that is banning nuclear tests. Now, there are widespread concerns regarding what? That Russia could move to resume nuclear tests for what? To try to discourage the West from continuing to offer military support to Ukraine. So, here, what is Russia trying to do is trying to play power games. And how is this going to happen? If you are going to exert a lot of power, that means you are going to show off your power. And how is this possible? By resuming the nuclear test, which Russia is probably trying to do. So what will happen? See, right now the biggest fear is that whether you are going to use these nuclear tools, etc., nuclear weapons and all. So once you are, making it public that okay, if I could go for this, so what is going to happen? The other states are going to push back, or they'll pull themselves back. The reason will be that war is not the solution for anything. So our past wars that are World War One and World War Two, what we have seen is have not done anything good. So this is the reason why it is expected that the West would try to put down their military support and will not offer any kind of military support to Ukraine. Now, many Russian hawks have spoken in favor of resuming the test. Now, what else? Uh, Western military support for Ukraine means the US and its allies are engaged in the conflict. He said that senior lawmakers will discuss recalling the 2000 ratification of the nuclear test bans at the next meeting. Speaking on Thursday, the forum with the foreign affairs experts, what has Russia said? So Russia has noted that US has signed but not ratified the 1996 what comprehensive nuclear test ban. So this comprehensive nuclear test ban has been done what? This has been signed and ratified by Russia. But when it comes to United States, they have signed it to United States, US, but not ratified it. Fine. Now let's move on to the next one. Okay. RBI flags inflation risk to stability. Now, what is happening here? Now, MPC, that is your Monetary Policy Committee, leaves benchmark interest rates unchanged for a fourth straight meeting. Now, what they are referring to, that it reiterates its real GDP growth and retail inflation projections for the fiscal year at 6.5% and 5.4% effectively. What is happening is the Reserve Bank of India views high inflation as a major risk to macroeconomic stability and sustainable growth. Now, accordingly, what is happening is monetary policy has been focused on aligning inflation to the 4% target on durable basis. Based on this, the RBI governor said on Friday that Monetary Policy Committee's decision to keep the policy repo rate unchanged at 6.50%. Now, elaborating on MPC's rationale for leaving interest rates unchanged for a fourth straight meeting, he said, "Silver linings of a declining core inflation, not misunderstanding." So, what is happening is that the overall inflation outlook was clouded by uncertainties that included the fall in the Kharif sowing for key crops, that is, your pulses and oil seeds, low reservoir levels, and volatile global food and energy prices. So, what is happening is asserting that Monetary Policy Committee remained alert and prepared to undertake timely policy measures to align inflation to the target and anchor inflation expectation. He observed that what the headwinds and the geopolitical tensions, geoeconomic fragmentation, volatility in global financial market, global economic slowdown, and uneven distribution of monsoon rates posed risks to the outlooks. That means the multiple factors, the reason why which there's RBI flagging what inflation risk, to which factors they have uh, counted for. First is your geopolitical tensions, what they have cited the reason. Other thing that they have pointed out is geoeconomic fragmentation. The next thing that they have targeted is your volatility in global financial market. Other thing that they have targeted is your global economic slowdown. And the next thing that they have said is the uneven distribution of monsoon rain. So RBI has also retained what? The real GDP growth forecast for 2023 to 2024 at 6.5% and its forecast for average CPI inflation for current fiscal year at 5.4%. So what is happening is the Monetary Policy Committee, however, raised its headline inflation projection for the second quarter that ended on September 30. So if you see, all in all, the situation that is marked by is the geopolitical tensions, geoeconomic tensions, the volatility of the global markets, the global economy, and their disturbed monsoon rain has contributed towards what? The factors of inflation. Fine. So all this is leading to risk of stability. Fine. So this is from the economic section that you need to cover. Now let's move on to the next one. Other than this, what you need to do is, okay, social media I have covered, imperials I have covered, then I have covered. Okay, so if you want, you can do this case study also. This is with respect to New Delhi, and what is that? That is Manrega is running out of fund, and ministry seeks more budget. So if you see, there's a Manrega is dealing with what? Rural Employment Guarantee Program. So if they are running out of funds, then how are you going to support the village economy? So with respect to this, you can go for a case study of this. Then okay, so this has been there for long. That means the cases with respect to the internal security aspect, that is UAPA. So you can go ahead with this case study. This I have just done with you. That is a village in Bihar, which is now a mini Punjab. And why mini Punjab? Because people are migrating and the practice of religious conversion is there. Why? Because of caste-based exploitation, and at the same time they are having what? They are driven by poverty. So two things very important over here: caste-based discrimination and poverty. So exploitation, caste-based exploitation and poverty. This need to be done from here. Then I've done this aligning higher education with United Nations SDG goals. Oh, fine. Okay, so here this one is also important. That is the city's AQI, that is air quality index, turns poor. Prohibition to curb air pollution imposed. Now, what is this? This is Delhi's air quality index slipped into poor category, and the graded response action plan was imposed in the national capital region to prevent further deterioration of air quality. So, what is happening is that this stage one has 27 point action plan, which includes what? Sprinkling water on roads, using anti-smog guns, ensuring proper disposal of construction